Right, so welcome back to lesson 3 in 5.3 reactivity series, and today we are learning about the blast furnace. Like we've mentioned before, if you are doing it on your class notebook, all of your learning objectives, keywords, date, title and all should be in for you. If they're not and you do it on paper, can you make sure you note them down? What I'd like you to do now is pause the screen and have a go at the do now activity. Okay, so what does oil rig stand for? Oil rig stands for oxidation. Oxidation is loss, and reduction is gain, and we're talking about electrons. Okay, define oxidation in terms of oxygen. So oxidation is the gain of oxygen, and reduction is the loss of oxygen. So it's the other way round in terms of oxygen. Explain which has been oxidized and reduced. So aluminium is being oxidized, so it's also the reducing agent. Then oxide is being reduced, so it's the oxidizing agent. Okay. So we're going to look at the blast furnace today. So learning objective to outline the extraction of iron from hematite and categorize these reactions in the process using our definitions of oxidation and reduction. So iron is extracted from the iron ore using the blast furnace. Okay, iron ore, and then it's another word for it, hematite, is made up of iron 3 oxide. What do you think the 3 means? Okay, the 3 is to do with its charge, because with iron it is a transition metal. So it has the ability to change its charge. So sometimes it's +2 iron, sometimes it's +3. In this case, it's +3. Okay. Next bit then, to get iron on its own, the oxygen must be removed. What type of reaction is this? It's reduction. Reduction is the loss of oxygen. Okay. So here are a couple of bits of information. Okay, these are the 4 raw materials that go into making iron. Okay, so getting iron on its own, these are the 4 raw materials. Okay, so we start with iron ore, we start with iron oxide, which is known as iron ore. Okay, and this is the compound that is extracted, iron is extracted from. Okay, start with something called coke. It's not Coca-Cola, okay, or any other type of coke. It's a source of carbon. And the reason we have this is it acts as a fuel. It reacts with carbon monoxide. It's needed to reduce iron oxide. Okay, so this is what we use to reduce iron oxide. We also have limestone. Okay, calcium carbonate, it helps to remove acidic impurities from the iron by reacting to form molten slag. Okay, this is the only time ever I want to hear you use that word. It is a scientific word for the impurities that are removed from the blast furnace. Okay, and then we've got air. Air, we just need the oxygen from it. It provides oxygen to allow the coke to burn. So what I'd like you to do is look at these questions. They are either true or false, so T for true, F for false. I want you to pause the screen, have a go at them, and correct the ones that you think are false. Okay, iron oxide is the compound which iron is extracted from the ground as. That is true. Okay, it is what it is in its ore, which is where we get it from the ground. Limestone is used as a fuel. That is false. Coke is used as the fuel. Air allows the coke to burn. That is true. Coke mixes with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. False. It's carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is used to reduce iron oxide, which is true. Reduction means gain in oxygen. That's false. It means the loss. Okay, so that's our first little bit. You should have all just had an overview of the reactants that go into the blast furnace. Okay, I am going to put a little bit of a YouTube clip up on your class notebook just to watch. It's just all about why we need the blast furnace. Okay, I was going to put it in this video, but it didn't quite work, so I'd like you just to click on it at any point. It's just all about why we use the blast furnace. What is its biggest point? Okay, so this is the stages of how we use the blast furnace. Okay, so right at the beginning, the first thing that happens, okay, is the iron ore Fe2O3, coke and limestone are fed into the top of the furnace. Okay, so the first thing that happens is our raw materials go in the top of our furnace. Okay, that is the first thing that happens. Okay, so the second thing that happened is hot air. Okay, remember that hot air will rise because hot things are less dense, so they will rise. So it will rise. Hot air is blown through the carbon in coke and burns with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide. Okay, this is a form of reduction because you're losing oxygen, even if you're only losing one oxygen. So what happens is you've got CO2, you pump in more carbon, and then you end up with O2. You end up with two of them, okay? That's still a gas, that's a gas, but this is a form of reduction because this CO here, 2, is losing an oxygen. Even though it's still got an oxygen, it's lost an oxygen from where it started, so it's known as reduction. This then becomes our really good reducing agent to steal away the oxygen from the iron so that we can get iron on its own. Okay, so coming over here then, number 4. Carbon monoxide reduces iron oxide to iron and oxidizes carbon dioxide. Okay, so what you have is you've got your iron plus the CO, and what you make is iron on its own plus CO2. Okay, that isn't balanced. 2, 3, 4, 3. Okay, that should balance it out. Okay, but the most important thing is we've got iron on its own. Okay, this is another reduction because the iron is being reduced. Okay, limestone then, which is one of the other raw materials we put in the beginning, reacts with the impurities in the ore to form slag. Okay, this floats to the top of the iron and is tapped off. Okay, so the slag comes out on top of the iron. Okay, slag is then used to make things like tarmac. Okay, things like that. So it's not a wasteful product. Okay, it's just the impurities that are made from all the coke, limestone, everything else going in, and it not being iron. Okay, carbon dioxide and nitrogen, these are hot waste gases, rise up from the furnace and are released. Okay, so we've got to think when we got carbon dioxide, global warming. Okay, a couple of things going on here. Okay, this is about a 6-stage process. You need to learn it. Okay, it often comes up as 6 markers, and remember the couple of equations that I've put in. Okay. Okay, so a little review now. What I want you to do again, pause the screen and have a go at answering these questions. Okay, so what 3 solids go in? What 3 solids go in? You've got limestone, which is known as calcium carbonate. You've got coke, which is known as carbon. And then you've got iron ore, which is known as iron oxide. So they're the 3 solids that go in. I know air also goes in, but that's over here. So it says what goes in here? Air. Okay, and we use that as a source of oxygen. Okay. Why is limestone added to the blast furnace? To remove impurities. What comes out here and what is it used for? The molten slag. So slag comes out on the top to make roads, tarmac. What happens? Well, it comes out as a molten form. So then we cool it down, and then it's used to make bridges, large-scale structures. What is Fe2? That's iron oxide. That's carbon monoxide, because it's only got one oxygen. That's just iron, and that's carbon dioxide. Okay, so with this, it's just learning to be able to label the blast furnace and to be able to talk about what happens at each section. Okay, make sure you submit your work. Thank you very much. Bye.